The question is, can we build a raised bed garden with a bunch of leftover cinder blocks from our storm cellar? I guess we can. Stick around and find out how we did it. I worked briefly to level the spot off. I didn't get much video stacking the block, but it was pretty self-explanatory. This whole thing you're watching, I'll explain at the end, but basically I'm setting poles and we're going to make a line to support the tomato plants. Once again, these poles were left over from fence. These small boards you see I'm using for braces, that was leftover boards from the trim that I put around the windows, which are fir strips you buy at your local Lowe's or wherever. So we used the sticks basically just because I trimmed that tree back next to the garden just to get some branches back out of the way. Rather than hauling them off or burning them, we just stuck them in the bottom of the garden beds as a good filler. It is such a blessing to have this little tractor. I'll tell you what, as you guys and women out there both know, for one, tractors are fun and it absolutely saves your back. And I'll tell you, this little Ford tractor, 25 horse, little diesel engine, is the perfect size for this homestead. It does everything that I need it to, and it's also gets in the tight areas. This dirt we got's real nice. It's from a local place it's got the mushroom compost, sawdust, so it ought to grow a pretty good crop. And the main thing is it's not full of bulbs to grow a bunch of weeds. You see me shoveling, you think, well, you got a tractor right there. Well, if I would have been thinking, I would have filled the beds as I stacked the blocks, but we'll know better next time. So this is where I'm starting the gate. I always like to link the posts together. I do this when I'm just from working alone, and it keeps everything together and keeps your stuff, helps keep things plumb. I always take time to make sure when I'm setting a gate that the posts are as plumb as possible. That being said, I've learned over the years to build the gate in place and you can take all the discrepancies out of it. Basically make the gate to fit the hole. Quick check with Mrs. Pace Acre there to make sure that everything looks good. My favorite part about stuff like this gate is I literally had zero plan it all went off of what material that I had left over. And it was nice the wood was already stained from the window trim. I had this one piece of wire from the rabbit hutch build. Here it is, a simple gate, but I think it turned out really nice. It's got the good oil-based stain, the same stain I used on my deck or the front porch. So I think it ought to hold up pretty well. It was all leftover material. Just like you see this green stuff, this was from a cheap greenhouse that Mrs. Pace Acre bought that the wind got the better of. Now, we did have to buy a few things, the dirt being one of them. We got that load of dirt delivered, and I needed a couple of cattle panels to make the tunnel. It's always fun wrestling these things around, but it's going to be so neat. You guys that have these are the ones that have inspired us sharing your pictures of them. It's so neat to see a tunnel full of vegetables hanging down out of it. After I got these two panels set, I drove a T-post in the center and of course wired them all together. It should be pretty stout. Obviously it's got tension on the bottom of those blocks also. I was just happy to see it's just tall enough to where I'll be able to walk through it. Here's some more of that green stuff. The main thing when I built this, Mrs. Pace Acre and I did not want to deal with weeds. We've got some gnarly weeds that grow around here, and we just didn't want to deal with them anymore. So all this stuff that I had was literally just a good way to clean stuff up, because I was getting rid of that old quail pen and that other pen that I had over there. So it had some of this stuff on it, some of that black tarp on it, and now we're able to just put everything down everywhere before putting the mulch down. Like I said, this is a long-term garden. We've been planting in tubs and different things several times, and this is the one that should be here for years and years to come is the plan. Ever changing. All right, guys. As always, I appreciate you guys following along as we go through our projects. But as you can see, this is a fun build. This is a fun build. There's a lot of work, like always. And you know, one thing that I wanted to point out is if you guys that were watching close, you eagle eye guys, you'll see, well, some of them rows aren't straight and things like that. I will tell you, I did take a moment and I squared things off with the chicken coop. Not saying it was perfectly square, but just to have stuff, because I do like things symmetrical. But as far as these rows go, on these cinder blocks, they're not perfect, but they are fairly even across. Now, that being said, you see, obviously they're not full. So what I've got going on here is I've got about 2 scoops of creek rock, and I will fill these up to where about halfway up to into the 2 blocks. And then that will lock the blocks together. And then I think I'm going to get a bag of Portland, you know, which is just your cement mix, not like Quickcrete, but cement, because I had a little bit right here. Because obviously we know that over time, that dirt's just going to keep pushing those out. So I'm going to do that. I had a little bit, but it had gotten wet and set up because all this stuff came from the storm cellar. And that video is on this channel. That's a really good build. It was a huge thing, huge accomplishment. But one thing I wanted to show you guys, we're watching, this is going to be really cool. You see this? These are set. There's holes. I think I probably got about 16 inches or so down below the ground, a hole So they go down in there, and I put a bag of concrete on each, as you've seen through the video, and that's going to be tomatoes. So we're going to run strings down off this wire. Mrs. Pace Acre, we're going to run strings down, and we're going to do the string tomato plants. Then over here, she's going to plant, you know, obviously climbing stuff up and over and make the climbing tunnel. But I don't know exactly everything that she's going to plant in it. But it'll be exciting. So there'll be more to come on that, you know, of course, once everything's, as far as the planning goes and how we laid everything like that out. But it's going to be neat. I'm just making sure there's not nothing. As you've seen, we got weed barrier. I briefly showed you guys one time before over in the other old garden area. It was just so, it just would get grown up so far away from water. So Mrs. Pace Acre and I, we talked, and we're like, she's always wanted a nice garden. So the whole thing with the cinder blocks is I was going to go 2 runs higher than what I did. 2 courses around on that. And basically, by the time I got it to where it was above my head, it's about a block above my head, I called it good enough. I was tired. It was a long journey on that project. I did have one of my good friends, he come and help me stack block on that. That's a whole nother, you can see all that in that other video. But so anyways, we had a whole pallet left over. And too much time and went by to return them. And you always can use stuff like this. Like building materials, I always find a use. There was one time I'd used every single scrap. There wasn't a 2x4 on this place anymore. From making stuff in the chicken coops just to whatever. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this garden video. I hope it inspires you guys to just go out there and do some stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect. If we're building cabinets, I'd try my best to make them perfect, but we're not. This is weekend stuff here on Pace Acre. And I know there's going to be a lot of good food to come out of this over the years. And it's going to look nice. That's the main thing. I wanted Miss Pace Acre to have something nice. And that's where we're at. So now I get to clean up the old garden spot and make some more pasture for Josie over there and her partners. But for now, guys, remember, feed your critters, love your neighbor, and follow Jesus. And don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. That does help. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Have a great day.